Ask me.
This is good.
You want to cut it out? That's my mom with one of the babies. I don't know who is the baby. It could be anybody. Here in Bulgaria, Santa Claus is with me and with Buriana. He is giving us presents. Again, Santa Claus with three of us. That's me in the middle, Buriana on the left-hand side, they and some little dolls, if you can see them, and Maya. This is a true story of mine. My name is Timtchev. I come from Bulgaria, from Sofia, and I came here 38 years ago. My job is as a taxi driver. I have been doing taxi driving for the past 36 years in Sydney for a company called Taxi Combine. Nowadays they call them 13 cabs. I came to Australia because I used to live in a communist country and the regime was very oppressive and I was very unhappy over there. I escaped from Bulgaria in 1980. I was in a prison in Yugoslavia. I was in a refugee camp in Yugoslavia. I was in a prison in Austria. I was in a refugee camp in Austria. And from the refugee camp, there were Australian people who came and interviewed us and they gave us visas to come to Australia. It's a long journey. It started all with the place called the Park of Freedom. It was a park in Bulgaria, in Sofia of course, which stretches from the CBD to the outskirts of the city. And we used to go with a friend of mine to jog every morning and to get ready for our big day. Because we boarded a bus and we knew in this bus there would be 2 or 3 plainclothes policemen, and if we ran off the bus they would physically try to stop us and we had to outrun them and we had to be physically fit for this. And anyway, the day came and when we boarded the bus, we pretended we didn't know each other with my friend. We were sitting in different seats, and in our stop, second stop in Yugoslavia, with the bus driver had to buy petrol, and we went to the toilet, and after the toilet, behind the toilet there was one forest, and we ran for 2 hours. And in the forest we were bitten by mosquitoes. And this was the reason to come back on the highway and try to hitchhike towards Italy. Unfortunately, when we were in Yugoslavia, Jimmy Carter, the former US president, was visiting Yugoslavia and the security was very high. And one police car stopped on the highway and asked us for documents. We didn't have documents from Bulgaria. And they arrested us and they interviewed us. The whole night they interrogated us in a police cell. And the next morning they took us before the judge, and the judge gave us sentence of 2 weeks for being in Yugoslavia without documents. After these 2 weeks, we spent 2 weeks in a prison in a city called Štit, and after that we were transferred in a refugee camp in Padinska Skela, which is a prison close to Belgrade, but the second floor of the prison was a refugee camp. And there were many Romanians, Poles, Czechs, only one Russian guy who escaped. And from there we were told that we were given a lift to the Austrian or to the Italian border. And one night after 2 weeks, the Yugoslavian police drove us to the border and put us on a freight train and told us to open the door the next morning. The next morning we opened the door and again we went to the nearest highway and started to hitchhike, and again a police car stopped and arrested us for being without documents.
Oh my God.
And again we spent in prison a week for being without documents. And after that a guy came from Traiskirchen. Traiskirchen is a suburb or a small city next to Vienna where there is a refugee camp. And from there one man came, he bought us a ticket and he took us with him to Traiskirchen, where we spent 1 month in a quarantine. Quarantine means they want to investigate who we were and why we were there. But the same place in Traiskirchen there were thousands and thousands of East European refugees. 1980 was the year of the of the escaping of so many East European refugees. And from there, after 1 month, they released us and we were allowed to go and work. We had casual jobs for a factory called Semrina, which was an Austrian factory for making tires.
Okay.
And after that, after 6 months being in Austria, we were interviewed by the Australian consulate and they gave us visas to come to Australia, and they also bought us tickets for Qantas. And we came to Australia in the 19th of November 98. Altogether more than 8 months to come to Australia.
Right. Wow.
If you count all the prisons and all the refugee camps.
So what was it like in the prisons?
In the prison they didn't touch us, although there were other prisoners, we were separated. We were not separated with them, we were together with them, but no one... We didn't have any issue because the Yugoslavian language is very similar to Bulgarian language and we can understand each other. And for them we were a novelty. We were not criminals. We were political prisoners.
Right.
So
what was Bulgaria like? Like, why did you feel you had to flee from there? What was the country like at the
Bulgaria
time?
was a communist state and it was very much close to Russia, and whatever Russia said, Bulgaria would do it. But internally they were very cruel, the police, and they were very cruel towards people who had any kind of voice, any kind of disagreement with the government. The life was very extremely difficult, and also everybody was poor over there. The only rich people were the members of the nomenclatura. They had BMWs, the ordinary people had Zaporozhets, which was an old Russian car, or Moskvich, which was also a Russian car. Life was... We used to eat meat once a week because my mother didn't have money to buy meat every day. And okay, it was a good diet. Nowadays people here will be lucky to eat vegetables every day, but believe me, we knew that there was something better there, out there. I had a mother. Our father fled the family when we were very little, so my mother brought us up, 4 of us, two sisters and a brother. My sister died later on in Canada from cancer. This was 20 years ago she died, but I have another sister now who lives in Austria, and I call her on Skype almost every day. And I have a brother who is a priest back in Bulgaria. That's my brother, Sasho, my younger sister, Boriana, my older sister, Maya, and that's me, and we are in one garden in Sofia City. Back in Bulgaria, under the communism, something that I didn't mention, we had days where we used to go to work, voluntary work, and everybody was supposed to do, for this 1 week a year, voluntary work, and this is my mom doing voluntary work. We weren't paid for this because the country had to be improved and new roads had to be built, new railways, and people were working free of charge. That's my brother, Alexander. You see, in early 70s, if you remember the era of the hippies, a lot of Western travelers who go through Bulgaria to India and then come back. And with them, they had their ideas. And these ideas were for a better life, for freedom. And there were young guys, say your age, who were, the boys were wearing long hair, jeans, t-shirts with different colors. And most of them had little money. And they would sleep in a park with tents, although it was illegal in Bulgaria, but the police wouldn't do anything to them because, after all, they were foreigners. They had foreign passports and they couldn't touch them. And somehow they brought with them this idea about the life being better, that somewhere else there was a better life. And we, when we were growing up, some of us, I studied a little bit of German, my friend studied English, there were other people who were picking up French, and somehow we started to communicate with this young generation of hippies, and they told us about the life in the West, the life in India, and they brought this novelty with them that for a better life we have to fight. And if we have no fight, if we were cowards, maybe we should run away. There are two sides. Maybe I should mention this economically, money-wise, we didn't have money. We had very little money. Say, the wages, everybody was getting the same wage. A doctor would get the same wage as a worker, 120 leva a month. But in a way, all the products in the shops were cheap. Say the bread was 15 cents, the cigarettes were 30 or 40 cents. And with this $120, we all have to live the whole month. And sometimes when the money was running short, we can go to where we were working and ask for advance for $30 or $40 from the next month's wage, and they'll give us advance. So this is the first part, the poverty. The poverty that we thought that maybe there was a kind of propaganda that these people who were traveling, we thought that they had money. Because how could you travel if you don't have money? You have to have food, you have to buy food, you have to sleep somewhere, and you have to travel. And traveling was also money, to buy a ticket for a bus or for a train. And this was the first part, the economical part. And second was the intellectual part that with friends we can discuss what we are discussing now, any kind of topic. But with foreigners, we were not supposed to. For instance, a taxi driver could dob you in and you can spend 2 weeks in the prison and they'll beat you up just because you said that the Prime Minister looked funny, that his jokes are not relevant, that he's very stupid, which he was.
Who was the Prime Minister at the time?
Todor Zhivkov.
Okay.
He died from old age. He was the first one to be charged under the new government, but case number 1 went for months and years, and he died from old age. He never spent time in a prison, as far as I know.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, so what were some of his policies, or why would you call him a stupid Prime Minister, for example?
No, I don't. I call him stupid for 2 reasons. First, he was stupid that he betrayed our nation as he sold us to the Russian. Second, he was stupid because in his daily life, his daily expressions and thoughts they were not intellectual. He was expressing very simple thoughts which could belong to someone who is not educated. Obviously, he didn't go to university, you can tell. One thing which many people in Bulgaria would remember, all the slogans and the portraits of the leaders of Lenin, Khrushchev, Stalin, Todor Zhivkov, Leonid Brezhnev, they were all on the walls.
Wow.
And the slogan here, it says, "Long live the Bulgarian-Russian relationship." You know, that's just such stupidity, but that's how we grew up. This is our class from year maybe 7. That's which is the man I escaped Bulgaria with. He's in America with Uber now. And that's me. Months were spent in a hostel in Perth in Western Australia, where with my friend Cesar we met another 7 Bulgarians, and we were in this hostel in Claremont, which was close to the beach. And at first, my first impression of Australia was the next day when we arrived in the evening and it was dark. We couldn't see much, and our first trip was from the airport to the hostel, and we were thinking that we were living out of the city because CBD of Perth is much smaller than Sydney, and this suburb of Claremont was approximately 15 or 20 minutes, and we thought we were going out of the city. We won't be in Perth. Actually, we were in Perth, but Perth is a huge city. And the next day, when we started to walk in the morning, we saw people over the fence walking and talking to themselves. And this was our first meeting with Australian people, and we said, what are they? Why do they talk to themselves? And later on later in the week we understood that this was a mental asylum next to the refugee camp, and these people were, no, it's true story, I'm not making this up, and these people were walking because they had just time off, and that's how they were releasing their inner feelings. They were not, they were people with mental issues.
Oh, okay. So
This
that
was my first impression for Australian people. Australian people talk to themselves. Actually, they don't. They're very cute.
yeah. Okay. So from Perth, where did you go?
From Perth, we lived in Perth for 1 year, and then with my friend we decided to come to Sydney because in Perth there were not many job opportunities. Unlike now or the last 2 or 3 years when there was a mining boom, jobs in Perth was very hard to find. Not only for us but for many other people with good education. And we came to Sydney with my friend and we found a flat in St. Peter's, 2-bedroom flat, which was very inexpensive. And St. Peter's at that time was quite cheap. Nowadays, Newtown, St. Peter's, they're very expensive areas, but 36 years ago it was very cheap to live there. And then the next day I found a job in Alexandria as a machine operator for one place called Sims Metal, and this was my first job in Sydney. I will not forget it. And then after the week after I received my first wages, I went and buy myself my first car in Sydney. I had a car in Perth in Western Australia, but this was my first car in Sydney, Valiant Rangers. That I bought for $300, which was also very cheap. I went to study English in Perth, first in Perth in Caltech's house. They had classes in the evening, and I picked up some English from there. And then here in Sydney, I went to an evening school at Newtown High School, close to Newtown Station. And during the day I work, and during the evening I'll go and study English. And I don't know when I picked it up. You know, it's something which you don't realize. It comes as you go, you know.
Wasn't that very tiring though, going to work and then going to
No,
school? No.
I was young and happy.
Okay. How old were you at the time?
I was 25 at the time when I came to Australia. And now I'm 62, I'm happily married. This is my wife saying. I may be the happiest refugee you've ever interviewed in your life.
Oh, that's so cute. Oh, okay.
You can tell them about your friend that he went to America. Remember the one?
Yes, my friend was a little unhappy because he was a clerk back in Bulgaria and he found a job in a similar factory where they were making furniture. But unfortunately, people were over there joking with him. They would say that they don't understand his English, and sometimes he would come at home and say, Ivan, do you pronounce the word properly or it's improper? And I would say, to me it sounds proper, but maybe for them they have different ears. They haven't grown up with people with accents. Maybe you sound different. So, and he was very unhappy. He maybe he went through depression. Now when I think back, he must have gone through depression. And it was unchecked because he never went to see a doctor. And as such, he decided to leave Australia, never to come back. And nowadays he lives in America, and as far as I know, he works for Uber. I drive sometimes part-time for Uber too.
Oh, okay.
Uber is a ride-sharing company. It only came to Sydney 3.5 years ago. You might have heard it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the taxi.
The taxi, it's like a taxi, but there is no meter.
Oh, okay.
The app gives you the amount
An
of the...
upfront fare.
Yes.
Okay.
Up around, paying from your credit card. I worked very hard in the past when I was single. I bought my taxi when I was single in 1986. I bought my taxi for $66,000. Sorry, $96,000, but I had to borrow $66,000 from Financial Corporation of Australia, which was part of Esanda, part of NZ Bank. I had 30,000 cash, which I collected my savings in my bank, and I borrowed 66,000 from this financial corporation. And it was a combined taxi 794, which I kept for 3 years. But as I kept the taxi, the interest rate started to go up, my payments started to go up, and I decided to sell it and buy a house and live happily with my wife, which I did. This is the story how we're here in this house. Alice had cloudless childhood. There were no violence at home, there was no money shortage. He grew up in ideal atmosphere, and that's why he's a very happy child. And when I compare my childhood with his, I grew in a very poor family, although I have good values. My grandfather and grandmother helped my mom to raise us up, and my grandfather was a judge in the previous government. Before the Russian came to Bulgaria, we had independent government, and when the Russian came, they took all the money that my grandfather had, and instead of being a rich man, overnight he became a poor man. And they gave him a little pension to live with, but to my grandmother they didn't give any pension, and she had to rely on my grandfather to support. This is a very old photo. My brothers sent the pictures for me and wrote down because I would not have recognized some of them. It says Familia Daskalovi. That's the name of my grandfather, Alexander Daskalov. That's when he was a judge. That's his brother Cyril, his sister Vesela, uncle Kolu, that's his brother, another brother Kolu. That's grandmother Maria, their mother, and Auntie Todorka. May God bless them. I'm becoming a pioneer. That's in Bulgaria. The communists had first Chavdarche, then pioneer. Chavdarche was a class that was wearing blue scarf, and then pioneer was the young, not communists, we weren't communists, but the ones who would be communists one day. We were all pioneers. You had to be, you could not say no. So they're putting this for me to join this. My son works as an electrician, and he's very happy. He works very hard. He is married now for a beautiful girl called Yasmin, and he's my main joy in life, apart with my wife, of course.
Yeah.
I met Senya through a friend. It was a Turkish friend called Nesli, and Nesli and Senya used to be flatmates. And I used to call my friend Nesli to talk to her over the phone. Or once or twice, Senya would answer the phone, and I thought this was Nesli trying to disguise her voice and say that she's not home. And one day I went to knock on the door, and Senya opened the door, and believe me, it was a love from first sight. When I saw her, I said she'll be mine. Although I shouldn't make such conclusions. And when I met her, I had long hair, and asked my friend Nesli if I asked her girlfriend to take her out, would she say yes? And she asked her, and I said, no, Ivan, she doesn't like you, you have got a long hair. And in 1987, I was in overseas to meet my family for the first time in Hungary. And when I was in Budapest, one day it was very hot, and I cut my hair not because of Senya, I mean because I was hot. And when I came back, I brought a small perfume to Nesli, and I went to meet them. And Senya had a birthday. Her birthday is 23rd of September, and on her birthday, I understood that she liked me. And later on, she called me, and we started going each other, and that's how
That's very
the
cute.
story became.
So how long have you guys been married now?
More, I would say 29 years, but we have been together for 31 years. It's a long time. And one thing that I have to say, I have been always faithful to her. She has been always faithful to me too. I can swear to this.
Oh, that's when we
Engaged
got
her.
engaged, yes.
It's very
And
cute.
I'll show you. And and when we got married, this is all the engagement. And this is the day
The wedding.
we got married.
This guy
That's
has become a judge.
Yeah.
I saw him
This
in
is
Penrith.
us when we got married.
I don't know his name, I forgot.
That's the day. That's the happiest day, as you can see, and that's us with the very good
The witnesses, Vulcan and
very good friends. It was a small wedding because we got no family here, so we decided just to do it with a few good friends, and then we were off to Europe after that and meeting each other's families, and so yeah, it was very, very nice.
Although I'm Christian and she's Muslim, this has never been an issue in our relationship. We never fought over politics. What has happened, even I remember in 1989, there was an issue in Bulgaria with Bulgarian Muslim people. The communist government of Bulgaria decided to expel thousands and thousands of people with Muslim faith, and they did. And the Turkish government opened the border. At one stage they closed the border because more than 350,000 people already passed the border, and it was a big burden for the Turkish government to take these people and accommodate them. And even at that time, we were in Bulgaria in 1989 for a holiday. This was our honeymoon actually, we never fought over this, you know. These are very delicate issues, and I believe if you are married to a person from a different faith, you shouldn't discuss. It's the basis to love each other. I have two hobbies. One is chess, number one, and second one is soccer. In the month of June, there is the World Cup from Russia. I was going to go with my nephew from United States to Russia to watch the games, but some things happened and we decided to cancel it. But next time, if I'm in a good health for the next World Cup, I will go.
Okay.
I love soccer.
That's
And
cool.
my favorite club is Barcelona from Spain, and my favorite player is the Argentinian player Leo Messi.
Oh, Messi. Messi's cool. I like
Yes.
Messi too. What about chess?
Chess, I play chess on the internet. I'm a member of a club called ICC, International Chess Club, and I play on a daily basis. And when I play, I get so excited that I jump from the chair and I cry from joy. When I lose, I'm so desperate. I think this is the end of the world. Something bad is going to befall me. But I love it. My grandfather taught me to play chess when I was 5 or 6 years old. This is a long time ago.
Wow. So did you just pick it up? Did you like it straight away?
Yes, I like it straight away because you see, you have got one board, you have got your army, and the opposition has got another army, and you're trying to defeat the opposition. It's like in life. Bulgarian language. I speak Bulgarian with some friends that I have here in Clermont-Medus, Maxim and Nadia. I speak with them and I speak to my sister on Skype every day Bulgarian. So I haven't lost my Bulgarian language. Maybe I have lost my Russian, which I learned long time ago, maybe 40 or 50 years ago, school, but not Bulgarian. I will never forget it.
So they taught Russian at school?
Yes, from very early age they taught us Russian because the plan was that Bulgaria would become a Republic of Russia, the 16th Republic of Russia, but it never did because we didn't have a land border. We had a border over to the sea, to the Black Sea.
Oh.
So this was the reason why we don't speak Russian now in the whole country. But as Russian, one thing that you have to understand, from my point of view, of course, I'm not discussing and I'm not expressing the view of other people, is Russian people are very friendly, very nice people. It is just their Communist Party who has got a lot of crimes from the past, from Stalin, from Lenin. As a culture, Bulgarian young people are like Australian people. They like to have good time. Even if they have little money, everybody will contribute and try to buy some wine or raka. This is the local drink. It's like a whiskey, but it's much stronger.
Okay.
And they go out, they have got parties, they play some music, they dance. So young people like to entertain themselves, and if they have got a band once a week, they will go and see the band. And the tickets are very inexpensive, you know, like maybe $1 or $2 to go and see a show, and many people will turn up because it's kind of, you break with the boredom, you do something that is different when you go and see a band. And And also about the culture, they have got many libraries, and young people particularly like to read. They go and borrow books for a month. They take 3 books for 1 month. They read them, they return them, then bring them back. They have cinemas, which is very popular, and through these cinemas, young movie makers try to express their views about the reality, and they show the reality as such. And people weren't even if they're not that familiar with the reality, they see the reality from the movies. I'll tell you one story.
Okay.
Only one story, which I believe is my luck. I was in a kindergarten, and one day we went for a daily excursion, and we were coming back walking, all the kids with the teachers, 2 or 3 teachers escorting 20 kids. And when we were coming back, I saw one coin in the middle of the road, and I went to pick it up. And as I went to pick it up, one horse came running, a white horse, and jumped over me as I was
no
picking
way.
up the coin. It's
Wow.
a true story.
That's great.
And this somehow is the I regard it nowadays as a symbol of my life. I have been always so happy. And I believe in happiness, and I believe happiness is something which you must find and must keep it hold. You must keep it with your 2 hands, as I hold my wife.